BS-Free Witchcraft is a production of the Nerd and Tie Podcast Network. Nerd and Tie produces podcasts ranging from actual play to true crime, and you can find more at nerdandtie.com or join our Discord by going to nerdandtie.com/Discord. Welcome to BS-Free Witchcraft, your monthly guide to the modern witchcraft movement, minus a lot of the usual, bullshit. I'm your host, Trey Dorn, and it's December of 2025, to be clear, and it is... I record this on at night, one of the longest nights of the year. By the time that this episode goes public, by the time that most of you will be listening to this, we will be heading into the light. We will be heading into, longer days and shorter nights. But for me right now, as I record this before the solstice, I find myself contemplative. Because tonight we're going to talk about aesthetics. And for a show that's legendarily not about the aesthetics, that may seem like an odd choice. But I think that sometimes aesthetic holds value in a way that we can neglect. Like, the ethos of this show has always been valuing the material and the meaning and the history of what we're doing over aesthetics, because so much of modern social media in witchcraft space is being at Witch Talk and Instagram and whatever is happening on platforms that people much cooler than I am using. The things on those mediums, with the explosion of witchcraft, especially over the last 5 years, is all aesthetic. It's focused on aesthetic and surface, and that's why primarily the show attempts to avoid that. But I think that sometimes it's important to remind ourselves that aesthetics actually can be deeply meaningful and important when paired with the other stuff that we, again, normally talk about. So that's what I'm going to talk about now. But before I do that, did you know I have a new novel out? My new novel, Buried Memories, came out on December 15th. It's the fourth book in my queer urban fantasy series, the Mia Graves Saga. Buried Memories, on sale now. There, I won't talk about it again. You can get it on ebook. You can get it on paperback, and I won't bother you with that little plug again. Maybe I'll mention it at the end of the show, but sorry. I feel like if I don't say it up front, I'm going to forget to talk about it, and then you guys won't hear me speak of it, and then you won't know that it exists. There was a point in there somewhere. For me, and I wanted to make sure I recorded this episode at night for a very important reason. For me, the aesthetics of night is always deeply important to witchcraft. There's something fundamentally different about the way that my brain, and I'm assuming this is true for many people, if not most people, but the way that my brain takes in certain things. I crudely refer to certain things as nighttime music, where it is music that feels more meaningful and important to me in my brain, just musically, not lyrical content, but I mean the way the composition works and touches my brain in the darkness. That at 1 PM, the song has no impact on me. But at 1 a.m, it is the most important thing I've ever heard. There's something about the way that, like, my brain immediately changes when it's nighttime. And I think that there's something about when I think about the witchcraft that I've done, like, obviously a lot of people practice witchcraft in the middle of the day. There's nothing wrong with that. And I have done it. But when I think about the most meaningful spells I've ever cast, the most meaningful magic to me, the rituals that have felt the most moving to me emotionally were all done at night. Because there's something about the mystery of night, the darkness, the not being able to see past the edge of the firelight, that makes things feel more important to me, that makes things feel deeply meaningful. And I don't know if I have the words to explain it. I don't know if I have the vocabulary to say why these things become more important to me because the sun is down. Maybe it's just the edge of mystery, the fact that my mind begins to search into the unknown for answers that don't feel as important when I can see in broad daylight. Everything we do, you should be able to examine in harsh light of day and feel and be able to interpret it and see what you've done and get meaning from it then. But that doesn't mean that it's not better. It doesn't feel so much better to do it in the middle of the night. I think in many ways, witchcraft is inherently tied to the night. I mean, look, I'm a Wiccan. I'm a neo-pagan. We do talk a lot of stuff about the moon. I mean, the Espots are an entire thing. As witches, like the modern, I don't want to say trend because like it existed, but like the popularity, the modern popularity of moon water and all of this is all tied to the exact same thing. The fact that we light a candle. To light a candle is to light the darkness. Lighting a candle in daylight is significantly less meaningful than lighting a candle in the dark. The modern witchcraft movement in many ways rises out of people's need for mystery. This need to have something that doesn't quite feel real but is. The need to not know the answer, to not understand while understanding. We talk about why people become witches. We talk about why people choose witchcraft. There's lots of conversations about power, about wanting to feel powerful. And I think that's true for many people. I think it's true for me and many people that witchcraft and magic makes me feel stronger and more powerful and more empowered in my life. But I think there's also something to be said for the powerless of night. We inherently feel vulnerable at night. We inherently feel vulnerable in the darkness. And so when we do something in the dark, it feels more powerful and more meaningful. I think. I don't know. I'm trying to put words to an emotion I've never actually tried to express out loud. This is the problem with being a solitary practitioner who's been practicing witchcraft on their own for like, oh God, 27 years. Like I've done group rituals before, like, and I have no problem with like, I have no problem with other people happily participating in group stuff. But the problem is that like, if you've never felt the need to verbalize something to another person, and if you've never felt the need to explain yourself to another person, there are things you understand and know in your soul, in your heart, that like, you just don't know how to say out loud because you've never looked for the words. Like way back in like episode 2 of the show, like we're stretching real back. I talked about the epiphanal experience that I had walking home from a movie and being on the street outside of the Chinese pagoda on North Avenue, walking down the street and having this moment of understanding. And it's really important that that moment of understanding happened when it was dark out. Like I was standing outside at night. And I think that being nighttime was an important part of that experience for me. Like, to me, night is a feeling. It's an emotion. It's a thing. There's something fundamental in my brain that just goes click. There is a vulnerability and a freedom. There's a reason that midnight is the witching hour. Folklore associates witchcraft with the darkness because of fear. Right, witches are scary stories. Historically, remember that calling ourselves witches is a modern thing. Historical folk magic practitioners would not have called themselves witches. They would have done their stuff in the daylight, except if they were doing something to protect against the darkness. And it's a modern privilege to embrace the darkness. We can easily turn the lights on. We can travel down the darkest road with our headlights. We can flip a light switch and illuminate our home. If you're worried that someone lurks in the shadows in your living room, you just got to turn the light on and you can see. You can brightly see. But the darkness still exists. Out in the wilds, out in the woods. As you walk through the woods, as your boots crunch through snow, and you hear something in the distance. Was that snow sliding off a tree branch? Was that an animal, or was it something else? That feel of unease in the darkness, not knowing, that feeling still exists. You still exist. You are still that same primal animal. Deep down. The same primal animal that our ancestors were. At the edge of the firelight, anything could be there. In the cool moonlight on the snow, things can move in the distance, and you'll just hear them and not see them. That vulnerability, being that vulnerable, allowing yourself to be that vulnerable is powerful. Allowing yourself to feel that way is powerful. To feel safe enough to feel that vulnerable is powerful. Because lots of people don't feel safe in this world. And the magic in that moment can't exist if you're in real danger. And lots of people are in real danger right now. And I think that's the big difference for why witchcraft can feel so powerful. That you can feel confident while still letting that fear take you. That you can be in a position where you feel safe enough to let yourself feel that way. Because I'll tell you, if I feel like I'm in real danger, fuck all, I just want to get the fuck out of there. There's that like moment where you're in the woods at night and you hear something and you know you got to get the fuck out of there. Like, okay, this is to get out of my more peaceful mode. Don't go out into the woods at night. Just don't, if you don't know what you're doing, or if you don't know an area, and if you don't know what wildlife is in the area, don't go out in the woods at night. There's that Terry Pratchett quote that everybody tosses around, like that a witch ought never be frightened in the darkest forest. Granny Weatherwax had once told her, because she should be sure in her soul that the most terrifying out in the forest was her. And I have said this quote. I have said this quote in episodes of this show. And when I talk about night, like I talk about the darkness and the power. And let me tell you, don't be a fucking idiot. All right. This is the thing. There are bears in the woods. It depends on where you are. There are mountain lions in the woods. There are wolves and coyotes. Depending on where in the country you are, there is a wild predator with teeth. Even if you live in a place that doesn't even get mountain lions, like doesn't get cougars normally, like I live in Wisconsin, one or two still wander on through the state every year. Bears are a bigger risk, black bears, and they're nowhere near the risk that a grizzly is. Don't be stupid. All right, we don't have superpowers. When I talk about like being in the woods at night, I'm talking about like being close enough to the fucking cabin. Like you have a campfires and like being places that are like be safe, be smart, don't be a dumbass. All right, look. You're way safer in your backyard than you are in the forest. Although a coyote recently walked down my parents' driveway into their backyard in Milwaukee. So, who the hell knows? But still, okay. So, anyways, mood. Bring it down. Let's try it. I can't be dark and mysterious anymore. Just don't be a dumbass. All right, look. Magic and aesthetic are important to each other. Aesthetics are important. I know I've downplayed them so much on this show because we get people doing stuff all over the fucking place. But let me tell you, nighttime feels goddamn amazing compared to daytime when it comes to magic shit. Like, that's my thesis. That's the whole point of this episode. And we're in long ass nights. And I say this as a person with seasonal depression where I fucking hate like November is my worst month. It makes me want to hit my head against a wall. I hate it so much. But there's still something magical and like fulfilling, and like trips that little kick in the back of my head. And it just feels correct. It is like if you've never sat on the edge of a fire and looked out into the darkness in the woods. The danger and the mystery together at the edge of the fire's light. It's just an amazing experience. And if you haven't had that experience, I hope you do get to have that experience where you are a place where you are safe enough to have that experience. Witchcraft, as much as we talk about power and reclaiming power, is also about mystery. Mystery is so important. You know, it's funny. There is this, I'm not going to say the person's name because I don't want to start some random fight with a guy who is, well, he's a dick, but I'm not going to say any more about his personal stuff. Like, I won't say anything identifying, but like years ago, it was a couple years ago, like kept trying to like justify like magic using pseudoscience because it was like really important to him that we explain magic through pseudoscience, like through like that he stated that there were proven scientific papers. And I looked through all the papers that he did, and I, was like, no, you are fucking wrong. Like, go read The Men Who Stared at Goats. The Men Who Stare at Goats. But like, the important thing with all that is that he was just convinced that there had to be a scientific explanation. And while I do believe that whatever we're doing when we cast magic, like, because science is just describing phenomenon and documenting it and understanding the mechanics of it. So right now, the reason why magic is not scientifically proven is because we don't have methods for scientifically testing it, right? Like, that's really what it is. And like, I believe in it, and I believe that there is a world where you could possibly do it, but importantly, no known science explains what we think we're doing. Whether we're full of shit or not, like, we believe we're doing a thing, and no known science explains it. And that's okay, because one of the things that makes it feel right to us, I think inherently, for a lot of witches, whether they want to admit it or not, is the mystery of the act. The fact that it is an inexplicable thing that we are doing. And nighttime is inherently a time of mystery. When we talk about the origins of the word witch, there's, we go back to the Old English, witche and witcha, where we don't know their origins. And people talk about wise ones, and they talk about to weave. It's all like potential etymological sources, and that how we don't have documentation to know. There is one possible meaning that sometimes I make it sound like a joke, but is inherently my favorite possible meaning of the origin of the word witch. And again, there is no better proof of this than anything else. This is not me, like, I am not declaring this to be the true origin of the word. Anyone who says they know the origin of the word witch beyond like the witcha thing, that they know where those came from exactly, is full of shit and doesn't understand linguistics, because we have theories and hypotheses, but we have hypotheses. That is the word I'm searching for, hypotheses. But we don't have enough evidence to establish an answer. My favorite hypothesis on this is that the word witch comes from a word that means to gesture mysteriously. Because ain't that just the truth? Like, think about everything we do. Think about your rituals. Think about your acts. Think about how it makes you feel when you do them. At its core, at its deepest point, doesn't it feel like a true act of witchcraft is to gesture mysteriously? I like that. I find myself liking that answer more and more. Again, we don't know if it's right, but it might be. It might be. And if it is, it's appropriate. And in many ways, what if, because people talk about being wise. Okay, great. I don't need to be wise. I'm dumb as shit. I don't want to be wise. Being wise is overrated. And they talk about to weave, and that's good. That's good, Weaving weaving is complex. It's taking a material and building something stronger out of it. Be it, cloth or baskets or whatever. And yeah, that is good. But it doesn't have the vibe. The vibe to gesture mysteriously. Because mystery gives us meaning. And what is nighttime? What is the darkness? What is the edge of the fire, if not mystery? It's mystery. This is a shorter one, and maybe not as deep or meaningful as others, but it was a set of thoughts I wanted to get out. And, what is the point of this show if not an opportunity to get my dumbass thoughts out into the world and make them your problem instead? I'm sure I'll do something more research focused next month. I'm sure I will say something that isn't some long, rambling story with my lights turned low on the video and a gif of a campfire going on a screen behind me. That's what that is. It's an animated gif on a Commodore 64 monitor. But, what is the point of anything without mystery? And that dose of mystery is brought to you by the sun being on the other side of the planet. That's right, you too can exist in a day-night cycle. All right. Well, that was strange enough, as it were. Let's bring this episode to a close. I want to thank my lovely Patreon patrons for supporting this show. Contributing to the Patreon gives you episodes like this a whole week early. and for just $1 a month. And I do want to give a shout out to people at the $10 level: Lindsay Dosey, Bruce Norville, Claire Dennis, Pamela Staryak, and Eldred Gamble. People at the $10 level actually get the ebook of my new novel, Buried Memories, right now, included as a perk of their package, along with the earlier books in the series. That's right. The Witch and the Rose, Bloody Damn Right, Shadow Casting, which has got the most appropriate title for this episode, and Buried Memories. Buried Memories. And members at the $5 level get my books a year after they come out. So they just got Shadow Casting, which came out a year ago, as included in their package. So that's just a neat thing that you get. And everybody at every level, and to the $1 level, gets an ebook copy of the Super Awesome Action Heroes role-playing game Core Rules. That's right. It's a role-playing game. Fun for the whole family. I don't know, man. What I'm doing. Like, it's neat. If you're just $1 a month, you get these early. You help keep the show on the air, or whatever we're calling things that are on the internet. And it's just a cool thing to do. If you can't afford to contribute to the show, I understand. But please sign up for the free tier on the Patreon, because sometimes you get news about stuff in other places that other people don't get. And also, if you just want to support the show and you can't afford to help me out, then just tell your friends about it. Share the show on social media. Go tell everyone you know, and tell the people you like, because you want them to listen to good things, and tell the people you don't like to listen to it, so they are forced to listen to me. Yeah. Or you can follow the show on social media. I am at TRAEGORN on TikTok, at TRAEGORN on Tumblr, at TRAEGORN.bsky.social on Blue Sky. And you can follow the show on Facebook at facebook.com/bsfreewitchcraft. Don't go find my personal Facebook page, because that's where I talk to my mom. But also you can find all the links to everything at bsfreewitchcraft.com, or you can follow my personal website at tradorn.com or trhonline.com or tragorn.com. They all go to the same place. So if you want more me stuff, that's where you're going to find me stuff. Or, nerdandtie.com, the podcast network that this show is a part of. And if you actually just want to have a conversation with me, nerdandtie.social is our forum, which it's a little quiet right now, but I am constantly monitoring it. So if you want to post something and talk to me, I'm there. Or you can go to our Discord, which has actual people on it, and that's at nerdandtie.com/Discord. You'll find an invite for that. And really, that's if you just want to have like a conversation with me, that's a great place to do it. I am a fun person who likes to talk to human beings. Anyways, again, as previously said, we're part of the Nerd and Tie Podcast Network. There's a lot of other shows on the network, like Ask a Medievalist, a great history podcast that you can listen to that has recently joined the network, or Casual Trek, a Star Trek podcast hosted by two people who mostly prefer other shows to Star Trek, but kind of like it, and so they're reviewing every episode. Or Famicom Dojo, the retro gaming podcast hosted by my old friends Sean and Vink, and they've been on hiatus, but they're going to be doing a run of like 3 or 4 episodes at the end of December and into January. So there's going to be new episodes of Famicom Dojo out pretty soon, and you can listen to those as they premiere. And you can find all of those shows, plus the new upcoming season of Stormwood and Associates that we've been recording. We have a bunch of episodes done. We're going to start releasing after the holidays when we're all a little less busy, but all that you can find at nerdandtie.com. Nerdandtie.com. It's got nerdandtie.com. It's middle of the night. I've gone loopy. And I think with that, we're going to call the episode Dunsky. Remember, Magicians, dirt in our fingernails, brick in our hands. The world may be dark, but we're witches. We thrive in the darkness. We're going to be the ones to light the way if we have to. And if the world is feeling too dark for you right now, there are those of us who can help light your way if you need it. And mostly just like make you tea or something. You know, I don't have like grand answers. I just have a little bit of comfort to offer. But you know what? Offering each other comfort is good. It is inherently good. And every little small good we do in the world adds up and is meaningful and deep. So, be the voice in the darkness for someone else. And listen for the voices in the darkness to help guide you along if you're lost. I'll talk to you, my chickens, next month. Good night.